This has been expected for some time. Tom Crean fired at Georgia as the head basketball coach. The Dogs, after a dismal season and a dismal performance in the SEC championships, bounce out their head coach. Not surprising. This has been expected for almost a year, I would say, certainly months. And you know, there's a lot of different things to talk about. But where Georgia goes moving forward is a good question. I've talked about this on Dog Post on our message board that members are part of. It's not something I published before Tom got officially let go, but there's three folks that I would keep an eye on right now, and that I'll start with the one that most people know his name, which is Jonas Hayes, and Jonas is someone that has the capacity to recruit at a level that I think no one else has at Georgia that I can recall. His problem was he had a head coach with him that in Mark Fox that wasn't very interested in recruiting, and not being the front facing person on that front. So Jonas has certainly got a lot of media backers, which is great. I think that he would be a good answer. I don't think he's got to be the only answer at Georgia, but I think if you hire him, you're hiring Jonas with the expectation that the recruiting will immediately pick up and that he will have a plan. The negativity about Jonas is that he's never been a head coach before. Um, Not that being a head coach has helped at Georgia lately. So, in terms of if Jonas would be the right fit, I think he would be the right fit. But there's other people that could be the right fit too. Matt McMahon is a head coach at Murray State. The Racers are ranked in the top 20 right now in the AP poll. I don't know if he will really give Georgia a look. That's a good question because there's going to be other jobs available. And in the landscape of basketball jobs, Georgia's is not where it needs to be or should be, and I'll have more on that later. But I think the Murray State coach is a guy to pay attention to. But I'm not sure if he will have interest back at Georgia. And then finally, I think Dennis Gates is someone to pay attention to. He's at Cleveland State. He has gone from in his 3 years there. This year they finished. I think they finished second in the league or won the league. They did not win the tournament, so they will not go to the NCAA's. A year ago, they did not win the league, but won the tournament, so they went to the tournament. They won their conference tournament and went to the tournament. And the season before that, he had collected them from what was really a bad time, and so he's gotten Cleveland State pointed in the right direction. Um, he is a longtime assistant coach at Florida State under oh my God, Hamilton, who has been the right fit for Florida State for a long time. So I think that he would have an understanding of how to recruit in Georgia, South Georgia specifically, but Georgia generally speaking. I mean, Leonard Hamilton's done an outstanding job at Florida State. He is the type of coach that you would want to be your head coach at Georgia. Someone who, I mean, he's been exceptional, and that brings me to my next point. The problem at Georgia has for too long been a lack of imagination, a lack of understanding of how good Georgia not could be, but should be. And as I'm going to write on Dog Post, you should make sure you're checking it out. Georgia should win the national championship in basketball in the next 15 years. Okay? If you don't think that's true, you have an imagination problem and you have a problem with where Georgia is in reality. Having played basketball in the state, having done AAU with the Celtics in Atlanta, having lived that life, I know the talent is there. There's no question about that. The problem is there's not someone that's been getting people to Georgia. It's been the wrong head coach the last three times. Tom Crean was the right hire, but wasn't the right fit. Okay, I know that's hard to understand, but Mark Fox was the wrong fit completely. I mean, he was not, I don't think he was the right hire necessarily. He's just not working out anywhere besides Nevada right now. And then before that, Dennis Felton, it just didn't work. So Fox was the best of that trio, but that's not a great group to compare yourself to. Um, the next hire needs to get Georgia not just pointed in the right direction, but having the sort of results that Leonard Hamilton has had at Florida State, having the sort of results that Billy Donovan had at Florida. These are so-called football schools. The other thing that I talk about with the national championship in the next 15 years, in the most recent 15 years, these things have happened. Florida has won a national championship. Florida's gone to two Final Fours. Auburn has gone to a Final Four. South Carolina has gone to a Final Four. Traditionally in the SEC, there are no schools worse than those three besides Georgia and maybe Mississippi. So, and what those schools don't have is all of the attributes that Georgia does. Top five, top 10 athletic department, recruiting base that is honestly better than anywhere else in the country, maybe with the exception of New York City. So it's all right there. But you got to hire the right guy. And that's been the mistake. And that will be the challenge for Josh Brooks. I think what people don't understand here is this is not at all like the football situation. In 2016, excuse me, going into 2016, in the winter of 2015, no one else was a candidate for the Georgia job besides Kirby. Greg McGarity was going to hire Kirby. That's just what it was. All right. I never heard anyone else behind the scenes. Just Tom Herman? No, it didn't happen. Okay. So in this scenario, this is much more of a search, if you want to call it that. This is much more, this is trickier, you know. But what what Auburn's doing now, Georgia can do that and then some. But they got to get the right coach. And Auburn's found their right guy. I mean, Bruce Pearl fits Auburn in a way that honestly, in a way that he didn't even fit Tennessee, and he really fit Tennessee. So you got to get the right person. Is that Jonas? I think it could be, but I don't think it has to be Jonas either. I think the thing with Jonas that you just don't know about is if he can win a basketball game. Okay, he's literally never done that as a head coach. Now, if that bothers you that much, then if that's what's precluding you, then you probably from hiring him, then maybe you shouldn't be a decision maker. And I'm not directing that at Josh or Jerry Moorhead. They both have been decision makers. What I'm saying is that alone can't preclude you from you know hiring someone as the head guy. What it will take to win at Georgia will be uh, more than anything recruiting. I mean, more than anything recruiting. Everybody today is going to shit on Tom Crean, and that's whatever. Okay, I don't know Tom Crean. It's whatever. Tom Crean did a lot of stuff the right way. Tom Crean did a lot of stuff that Dennis Felton and Mark Fox didn't do. Tom Crean got elite players, Anthony Edwards. Tom Crean marketed. He did a superb job for a particular amount of time in getting Georgia pointed in the right direction. The problem was everything after that fell apart, and you have to win. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So, who is the right fit? It's not my job to say. It's not my job to select. I would take a very hard look at Jonas for sure. I mean, I think that he makes a lot of sense, but he doesn't have to be the only person. The coach at Murray has proven consistently that he can win. The coach at Cleveland State has not proven that he can consistently win, but he's proven pretty quick that he can win. But this isn't about hiring the next Mark Fox. This isn't about elevating necessarily a Power Five person. Who is the right person? This Georgia job, it's not like South Carolina. They're never really going to win there. It's not like uh, Florida where it's disheveled and there's a huge population in the state, but it's spread out all over the place. The population is all in Atlanta with dots elsewhere. There's great basketball in Savannah. There's great basketball in Augusta, Albany, or Albany as they call it. And South Georgia has a very good tradition of guys, D'Antonio Wingfield, etc. But Juan Gaston, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Matt Harpring, this is just guys from the 90s. You've got, you can't ignore Atlanta, Lewis Williams, Mike Mercer, I mean, obviously Anthony Edwards, there are Dwight Howard, there are s- endless supply of players. And if you're going to be in a recruiting game, you have to recruit those players, which means you have to have relationships in Atlanta, period. And don't give me the business about how basketball is dirty. Football is just as, if not dirtier than basketball. So leave that, you know, in the past somewhere. It's not based in reality. Georgia needs to get someone who will go out and recruit. And then they need to put expectations on that person by providing them with every single resource possible, all the exposure possible, and take the power that is Georgia's athletic department and is the University of Georgia and point it in the right direction, and they will be successful. They have to hire the right person. This can't be someone that doesn't fit. It has to be someone that understands what they're getting into. They can't be from the West Coast. They can't be Dennis Filton with very limited personality. It has to be a complete and full effort. It is shameful what Georgia's been like in basketball this century. Shameful. There is no excuse for it. It should be a national power in basketball. That's it. I'm not talking about volleyball. I'm talking about men's basketball. There are, per capita, there are probably better basketball players in Georgia than football players. And Georgia just dominated in football and for the national championship. Now think about that. It takes imagination and it takes hiring the right coach. I don't know who that is. I'm going to let the other experts on that are in the media who've never played basketball before and you guys on social media to tell me what's right. I don't know who the person is, but I'll tell you this right now. You have to hire the right person. You have to get behind them and you have to have that person recruit. That is how you'll see results. Not half-ass recruiting, real recruiting, going up to John Calipari, poking him in the eye, taking Bruce Pearl's best players and getting them to stay in Georgia. Georgia Tech's a disaster. They're never going to figure themselves out, I don't think. And things at Auburn always go wrong. They've never consistently been good with long-term coaches. It's against their nature. So it won't last forever with Bruce Pearl either at Auburn. He's done a hell of a job. He should be the model of what you do at Georgia. He's proven that you can win at a loser. It's time for Georgia to do that. We'll see you on the website.